Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class if you've not been watching my videos. I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another live stream with Moving Home with Charlie. I'm Charlie Lambden. Welcome, especially to all my new followers. Very, very happy to have you here. This is an unfamiliar location for me. The internet speed's very fast, but a bit janky. It can drop in and out, so please shout. And say hello. Who have we got here this evening? Ben B, hi there. Cyber Muse, Popolop, Tina Fey, Ricky Heath, Mark, James Amore, GSN, GS Gannon. Yes, where the fuck is Stig? Good question. He's having fun. That's where Stig is. He's having too much fun to join me tonight. Anne Riley, Matthias Souza, Stephen Stewart. Good evening, everyone. Experience Diner, Claire M, Jordan Simmons. Welcome, all of you. Thank you for joining. As you will have noticed in the last few weeks, I've been doing far fewer videos than normal. This is for a number of reasons, including regular summer family holiday time, plus a couple of other things, unexpected curveballs that have been taking up a huge amount of my time and putting me in unusual locations like this. But this evening, I am here primarily for you. If you are currently trying to buy, if you're in the process of buying, maybe you've had an offer accepted, you're waiting for the exchange and you're worried about something, maybe you're viewing and you're making offers, you're thinking about making an offer, maybe you're thinking about going viewing, maybe you're not sure if it's the right time to buy, maybe you're not sure which mortgage to take. I'm not a mortgage advisor, but any of those questions, I'm here for you if you are a buyer tonight. So please, in the live chat, put question. So amongst all the other chats, I can see who's asking questions and I can come to you and ask your buyer questions. I don't know about you guys, but the more I look at the news, the more confusing it is. And if I were to only go on the news, I would be totally bewildered and totally confused, because pick a day, any day, and you'll have conflicting stories. And unfortunately, most news stories are designed to get us to click and read them, to sell advertising, and not as many as we would like are actually there to really help us. So I'm here to back up the journalists with information that I hope is genuinely helpful. Quick recap. If you're new here, I have been saying for almost exactly a year now, in fact, longer than that, but exactly a year ago, I called out what I would see as a UK house price collapse over, as I said then, 18 to 24 months. I've expanded that. It's taking longer than I thought, but it is happening to 2 to 3 years. We're about a year into it. And point number one for everyone to understand is that no matter what's being reported today in the news in terms of official house prices, whether it be Halifax and Nationwide reporting their average mortgage approval price, or the Land Registry reporting official completed prices, it's delayed. It's heavily and seriously delayed. And it doesn't tell you what's happening at the coalface today. Now, I cannot tell you what's happening at the coalface at the front line of a estate agency today everywhere, because it's different everywhere. And my message to you, if you are a buyer, you are theoretically or hypothetically in a position to buy now, but are just worried about whether it's a good time to buy or not, but you would like to buy, is, unless you are out regularly viewing, potentially suitable properties, you will have no clue what's happening on the front line of the market of the kind of property that you want to live in. There's no data anywhere that will help you if you are looking to buy a 2-bedroom flat or a 3-bedroom house in a particular town, in a particular price range. You can't look that up. It doesn't exist. And even if it did, it wouldn't be cutting edge, up to the minute, coalface news. So this is what I say to all the private viewers that come to me and want to ask my advice on a one-to-one video call, is nobody, not me, not anyone else, can tell you what's happening at the front line of where you want to live except for you. So get out there and view. Now, the next point I wanted to make is that as interesting as it can be to read the house price index news, we recently had Halifax and we had the RICS, it's of no use to you individually, because every property that you look at is going to have a unique set of circumstances. You, as a buyer, have a unique set of circumstances. Every seller of those properties is going to have a unique set of circumstances. Every potential deal is going to be unique. So, and whether you're a buyer or a seller, you don't have a real decision to make unless you've had an offer made or accepted. Okay? If you have an offer rejected, you still got no decision to make. If you're a seller with no offers, you've got no decision to make. But if you're a seller with offers, then you've got a decision to make. And if you're a buyer who's made an offer and it's accepted, then you've got real decisions to make. And you will discover when your first offer gets accepted that life takes on new meaning. And suddenly the reality of you're going to go through the transaction actually kind of wakes you up like a strong cup of coffee and makes you think, oh, fuck, okay, we're going to buy this. And it makes you realize things that you just hadn't thought of up to that point. It is a process. It's an odyssey. It is a roller coaster of emotion and fear and risk and what if this and what if that. And I'm here to try and help you with all of those things. But to recap that point, what I'm saying is you shouldn't pay attention to national average figures. The only thing affected by national average figures is the economy, right? Because GDP is affected by average house prices. And also transaction numbers. The only thing affected by transaction numbers, apart from estate agents' businesses, is the market liquidity. So in other words, the fewer transactions that are happening, the harder it is to buy or sell. Okay. Now, there are a few things I wanted to go through, but this is the most interesting one. I'm just going to show you this, and I'm going to take a few questions. I will just highlight the questions coming up now. Yeah, let me just snag these questions or tag them so I can find them later. Okay. Right. So here we have, this is really interesting. Now, there's a link below. There's a link below to this. So you can all go look at this page yourself because it's an interactive page. It is a page on the Mail Online website. I tweeted it earlier and it had this headline: how much has your home fallen in value? Interactive map reveals areas where property prices have plunged by up to 20k in just a month. Okay. They are talking about the most extreme boroughs or councils where this has happened. So let me show you what they're referring to. Okay. So this is an interactive map. Look, when you mouse over it, it gives you the figures of all of those different councils and areas, right? Can you see me? Is this happening? Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm actually going to make it bigger. Let's get like that. There we go. Now, so the red is where the property has fallen the most, and this place called Wychavon, which I've never heard of. And this is apparently land registry figures. So this is the month-on-month change between April and May this year, okay, according to the land registry. So April to May, Wychavon had an average change of £19,700 drop in the average transaction price, okay? That's a massive drop in a month. That's 5.7% drop in 1 month. But then other counties like this one here, Rutland, had a 19 grand up in the average price. What does this mean? Does this mean house prices are going up in some places and down in other places? No, it doesn't. And this is why I'm saying you just got to disregard average figures, okay? It's just, I mean, it's a complete, there isn't even a geographical trend there. It's all over the place. Down here in Devon, you've got two neighbouring places. South Hams is up 12 grand and West Devon is down 12 grand in the same month. As per the title of this video, what the fuck is happening? So, even in those areas highlighted on that map just now, what it doesn't tell you is how many of those properties were flats, how many were houses. Okay, it doesn't tell you any of those details. How many houses versus bungalows, how many of flats versus one bed flat versus two versus three, and each of those property types will have a different market in those places. And some of those wildly fluctuating figures will be because in one of those areas, loads and loads of flat transactions happened and big house ones didn't. And another one, it's the other way around. What it doesn't tell you is, and it's very, very, very misleading of the Mail to put that up there, because it isn't tracking like for like month to month. Okay? And this is why you've got to get out and view yourself to find out what's happening with the properties that you want to live in. In the ones where it's saying prices have shot up, it may be in that month they had an abnormally high number of larger property transactions going through. All right? That many areas, the actual number of transactions is going to be quite small. And don't forget that the land registry, and that's the most recent data, has only got, I think from memory, Stig will kill me if I get this wrong, about 8% of transactions. So that map, which is using government data, yes, is broken down into very, very small areas, and it's got only 8% of the transactions that happened in that month. So that's why it's wildly fluctuating from plus 20 grand to minus 20 grand, plus 20%. It's all over the place. It's totally unhelpful. But the one thing that it does show you, let's just bring it back here, is it does show you just how pointless national averages are. All right? That's what's happening, guys. Look at that picture. It's clear as mud, isn't it, as what's happening in the UK property market. Well, basically, it's a complete hodgepodge patchwork quilt of different stuff happening everywhere. Okay, which is why you really shouldn't get too excited about national averages. Now, another reason why national averages are not helpful is because, again, are they tracking like for like? When they're comparing prices in the most recent month with the same month a year ago, was there the same profile of transaction numbers of flats to houses, etc.? Or are there more houses selling now than there were this time last year? And maybe there are more flats. We don't know. You can work it out. You can get into the land registry figures. You can dig about. But the figures for a month ago are going to be only a tiny sample, so it's very, very hard to see. And so what I'm trying to say is, if you find the news, if you're a buyer and you find the news utterly exhausting, stop looking at it. It's not going to help you. If you are serious about potentially buying somewhere in a falling market, and I'm going to come on to in a moment how to go about offering the falling market, then disregard all the headlines, disregard the house price news, disregard any sensationalist guff from anyone, including me, right? You don't need to listen to what I'm saying about the market or anyone else saying about the national market. If you're serious about buying, you need to be out there actually viewing potential homes, including, and in a falling market, homes that might otherwise seem outside your price range, because in many places and in many instances, houses are selling for a large number below their asking price. Okay, it varies with every single different property, but it's very, very common that houses are being sold for 10% below the published asking price at the time they go under offer. So, the last point on national average house prices is this. It is possible, and I think it is the case, by the way, that average house price figures are actually highly misleading in what's actually happening because of the change in the profile of types of properties being sold, if that makes sense. We are not in a typical time. I happen to think there's a lot of downsizing happening, more than usual. And if there's more than usual downsizing happening, that will actually distort the average and make it look higher than it is. In terms of the actual value of individual properties coming down. And I'm hearing stories on a daily basis of mortgage lenders downvaluing properties left, right, and centre. I'm hearing stories left, right, and centre, anecdotal. People I know, friends, family, agents, of really quite surprising price drops happening at the coalface. The averages don't tell the story, because if there are more larger properties being sold than usual, that will create a higher average price, which is another reason why I think the median price is so important. Again, disregard all the averages. Okay, let's take a couple of questions, and then I'm going to come on to exactly how I would go about offering on a home in a falling market if I was a buyer. But let's just take some questions. Right, okay, here's a good question to start with. Jordan Simmons on YouTube says, how can I be persuasive to the seller when offering 20% below asking price? Could I include data such as Rick's report in my email offer? No. A lot of people ask me, should I justify and explain the reason for my low offer? There's no point. People don't really care. Whatever the story is, they're not going to go, oh, that's a good story. Yeah, okay, I'll knock 20 grand off or 20% off. In the end, with every single property transaction, it comes down to the following two things. Are you the only person offering, or are there multiple people offering? Okay, right? If there are any, right? Of course, there are some houses that have got zero offers. They're on with the wrong agent. They're on for too high a price. They should A, lower their price, and B, switch agent, because you were on with the wrong agent in the first place if you're a seller like that, right? But assuming that you are offering on a property and you want to offer well below the asking price, okay, either you are the only offer or you're not. Right? There are no other scenarios, okay? And if you are the only person offering on that home, which is what you want to hope is the situation, and it is happening quite a lot, then if you follow my long-running advice about offering your personal maximum comfortable price for that property, you simply say, this is the maximum I'm prepared to pay for this property. No explanation required, provided you're telling the truth and it is your maximum and you wouldn't go up later, right? Lots of people say it's their maximum and they go up afterwards anyway, which means it wasn't your maximum. It's very hard to get this right, by the way. But everyone's maximum is different, because some people have got more deposits, some people have got a better mortgage deal, some people are buying cash, some people need the home for different reasons. It'll save them money on their commuting, whatever else. And everyone's got a different reason. Some people are in a position to pay what I call a certainty premium, which is even if there are other people offering, you decide you want the property, you put a bid in much higher than the others because you just want to secure that property and you're confident you're going to live there for a long time. So it doesn't matter if you're overpaying, which is why everyone's offer is unique and personal and has nothing to do with the value of the property. Make your offer. If you are the only person offering on that property, that is the value of the property, right? Because as everyone says, a property is only worth what someone will pay for it. Well, if you're the only someone offering anything, that's what it's worth, right? Prove me wrong. So that's one question. Are you the only offer, or are you one of many offers? Okay. And if you are one of a group of offers, then your decision is, am I going to get into a bidding scenario? Can I afford to get into a bidding scenario? Do I want enough to get into a bidding scenario? And if you are a mortgage, if you've got a large mortgage, I would be really cautioning against getting into a bidding scenario in this market. But otherwise, I mean, in my view, it makes no difference. You make your maximum comfortable offer, whether you're the only bidder or not. And if you don't get it, you walk away. right? You walk away. In this particular market, you walk away because it's too dangerous to overpay in a falling market. Now, the other, I said that there are two scenarios with each property, is the seller's situation. There may be reasons that neither you nor the agent know about why a seller cannot accept a lower price than a certain amount. Okay, this is happening a lot. Okay, it might be because of the outstanding mortgage they've got on it, so they can't accept below that because otherwise they'd be in negative equity and would have a debt to pay and would rather stay in their house and keep on paying the mortgage and ride at the negative equity. So they're hoping to get an offer above a certain amount, and if they don't, then they'll just sit tight. So if you're the only offer and they turn you down, that might be the reason why. Another reason might be they're looking to buy another house and they've agreed a price on that other house, but they can only afford to pay the price on the next house if they get what they need from this house. And if they can't, it means they can't move. So another reason why they might turn your offer down. I get people every single day saying, I can't understand why these sellers won't accept my offer. I'm the only offer and it hasn't sold. And, you know, it was on a few months ago and it sold, but now it's fallen through. It's back on the market. A number of people selling homes have no choice. Either they achieve a certain price for it or they cannot sell. Does that make sense? So that'll answer a lot of people's questions. It's not a question of just like, oh, well, okay, we'll take a lower price. They just can't. They just can't. They either get the price they're holding out for, or they're going to have to rent it or stay in it or whatever. Okay. By the way, guys, I did one a while ago. I can't find it. It was in a tweet. I did a draft wording of an offer email. Always offer by email, never over the phone, never in person. Always do it by email. Always. Always. There's a long reason for that. I won't go into it now. Yeah, Kendall Smith says, looking at that map is absolute garbage. I agree. It'll be different every month. It'll change color everywhere, every month. Okay. So that map is, it's fun to look at, but it's absolutely pointless. What other questions do we have from the early questions? I'm taking questions about buying, first of all. Jason Benjamin, this is a good question. Jason Benjamin on YouTube says, I have viewed a house which is not on Rightmove yet. I want to offer 10 to 15% under asking, but do you think there's any point given that the property is not gone on the market yet? Yes, there's always a point because it costs you nothing and you have nothing to lose by making that offer. And if you don't make it, you'll never know. And if you make it and it's not accepted, you're no worse off than you are not making it. So always offer. Just make sure that it is your maximum comfortable price for that property. Because if you don't get it, and then it goes to the open market in this situation, and you could have offered more, you might kick yourself, right? Let's say you're saying 10 to 15%. That's quite a big margin, by the way, 5% margin. If you offered 15% below asking, and they said, no, right, we're going to put it on the open market, and actually you would have paid 10% below asking, and they would have accepted it, it makes sense to go in with your 10% below asking if that's your maximum comfortable price. Does that make sense? So let's CS Gannon says, what's my latest worst case scenario? 40% was your old worst case when we were at 3% interest rate, so it must be higher now. No, it's not higher now because I was back then when interest rates were 3%, I was expecting interest rates to get to where they got now. So I'm still expecting a national average slide over 3 years of 35%, with regional variations from 15 to 50%. Next question. That's not a question, but anyway, Philip Hodgins says, I'm buying a cheapish house for 280k as a cash buyer. My hedged bet. Every good one I've viewed so far has sold within 2 weeks, and one probate property had over a dozen offers, so I didn't offer. Yeah. Guys, there are always areas where there's always going to be demand for cheap-ish properties, as Philip puts it. Joanna Zian on YouTube says, Charlie, your explanation makes perfect sense. I just don't know if it's good or bad. Not sure what you mean by that, Joanna. Can you elaborate? Right. What other questions do we have before I get on to my next? So Toyosi Maria B, hi there, welcome, new name. Says, we have seen a few houses we like back on the market or taking a long time to sell. What bargaining power do we have as a first-time buyer? Okay, so as a first-time buyer, assuming that means you also need to take out a mortgage and you're not a cash buyer, so I'm assuming you mean you're a cash buyer, the only things that you can do to give yourself bargaining power is to say, my mortgage in principle is ready, my conveyances are lined up, and if you accept my offer, I will order the search pack today, which will take 3 or 4 weeks off the sale process and speed up the whole transaction. Those are the only things that you can do to speed up if you are a mortgaged first-time buyer. Now, in terms of bargaining power, again, either you are the only person offering or you're not. If you're not the only person offering, then having your mortgage in principle, your conveyancer, and the offer of a search pack when your offer is accepted will put you head and shoulders above of any other first-time buyers who have a mortgage or need a mortgage and don't have those things. Okay, so that's what you can do. And again, guys, down at the bottom, you'll see that down here. Look, here we are. Hang on. That ticker tape at the bottom has got the URLs where if you don't have your own mortgage broker, I've got guys handpicked because I trust them and they're really good, and they're whole of market independent brokers. If you don't have a conveyancer, same thing. There it is. There. And the search packs you can get there. All right. So first time buyers, if you don't have those things lined up, you can get them there. Next question. Nick Jones. If you work from home, should we move out of London to be able to buy a house? Oh, I mean, there's so many different answers to that question. I mean, it depends. The first thing in my mind is, are you single or are you in a relationship? And if you are single, do you want to be in a relationship? Because maybe you're going to have better, the numbers are better in London, aren't they, for finding people? But maybe it's not the right kind of person. I don't know. I mean, what your question does point out is that if you work from home, you have the choice. And a lot of people don't have the choice if they don't work from home. So what I would be doing if I was working from home living in London is I would be looking to see what my money could buy me elsewhere. A lot of people have done that, by the way. Do we have any questions? Here's a question just popped up. Youre Plina, forgive me if I got that pronunciation wrong. What are the known common traps in buying property? I heard stories about centralized heating providers for a multi-flat building where set prices higher than not. Yeah, off-term sets. So that's in a leasehold property where you've got a managing agent managing the central parts. If you're buying a leasehold property, you must make sure that your conveyancer, and this is the question you must ask them, is what is my exposure under the terms of the lease of this particular property? What is my exposure to service charges? What are my exposure to everything? All right. There are traps. There are more traps in leasehold. Not all leaseholds are bad. Some of them are perfectly okay. Some of them are shocking. So you've got to look into it carefully. The other common trap is that when mortgage lenders do their valuation of property, they do a quick, rough, approximate lending valuation. They don't do a structural survey. Always get a building survey done. Always. It's an irritating expense, but either you will find out that the property has no problems for you to worry about, which will be good to know, or you'll find out that there are problems that you want to worry about. Either way, it's worth knowing. Question. Oh, there's a great question. Stefano del Giudice, is that the right way? Stefano on YouTube says, what is your definition of overpaying and how do you avoid it? That is such a good question. Overpaying is a personal definition every time. Are you paying a price for a property that puts you into financial stress in the future that you're not willing to accept? Then you're overpaying. Are you paying a price to secure a property now higher than it's actually worth, because the estate agents have done such a good job of getting a high price and getting bidders up there that's made you think it's worth it. And you're proceeding with your transaction because you're assuming that house prices are only going to fall 10% in the next 2 years, but actually they're going to fall 20 or 30%. Then in that scenario, if your assumption is 10% falls and they turn into 20 or 30% falls, you are overpaying. If those 20 or 30% falls put you into negative equity. You are overpaying if you buy a property now, planning to move 2 years from now, and you can't move because the property prices have fallen, and meaning you can't sell your property because it's not enough to cover the mortgage. Then you're overpaying. So in my mind, overpaying means paying a price for a property now that you later come to regret, because either it stops you moving, or because you're in negative equity and you can't afford your mortgage payments, so you're at risk of losing your house and then having the debt for the difference around your neck until you've paid it off. All of these things are potentially overpaying. But two different people bidding the same price on a property, one might be overpaying, the other one might not be overpaying, because it's not about the value of the property as much as it is about your ability to withstand price drops if they happen. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say don't overpay. Don't put yourself into a position that you later come to regret because you paid too much for a property. Okay, yep, here's a question I get a lot. If I buy now, do you think it's worth getting a 2-year or a 5-year fix in the hope that interest rates will be more favorable in 2 years' time? Right, it's very simple. If you're someone who enjoys rolling the dice and is prepared to accept the risks, and you're hoping that rates are going to come down, you go for a 2-year mortgage, and you accept the fact that you might be wrong. And at the end of 2 years, you're going to be paying more, but you might also be paying less. If you're someone who prefers certainty and you can afford the 5-year fix mortgage repayments, and you know that fix and that certainty is, okay, thank you very much, I now know what my mortgage payments are for the next 5 years, and even if they come down and I could have saved money, I don't care, I'd rather have the certainty, then take a 5-year, right? There is no right or wrong answer, because the amounts you may or may not save are going to be negligible compared to the risks that you're taking on if you are buying a property and it's stretching your finances. Okay, so there is no right or wrong 2-year or 5-year. It's a personal choice. Are you a gambler? Are you a risk taker? Are you happy to roll the dice, or would you rather have longer? I mean, there are people who took out a 2-year fix 2 years ago wishing that they'd taken a 10-year fix. Just remember that. All right, I do not have an opinion on this. Okay, I am not buying a home right now, so I don't have an opinion, because again, it would depend on the mortgage rate you were getting. It would depend what's the difference between the 2-year cost and the 5-year cost to you, and what's your salary going to be 2 years from now. Do you know it's going to be more or not? All of these things affect that decision. All right, so if anyone says, oh, I do 2 or I do 5, they are talking out of their furry bumhole, because it's not a general advice. It's not a financial question. It's a personal situation question. It's a risk appetite question. It's a gambling question. It's a how secure is your income question. How secure is your job question. How big is your mortgage question? All of those things. And it's different for every person. So, and you shouldn't ask a mortgage broker, what do they think about whether you should take a 2-year or a 5-year? You should ask your mortgage broker for the quotes. What is the 2-year quote? What is the 5-year quote? And then you've got to make up your own decision. Don't let other people decide that for you. It's your decision. Philip Hodgins says, I overpay for my house because I have Scottish genes and the house isn't free. Yeah, Will Reese says rates are never going back to 2%. I would tend to agree with that opinion. It wasn't Marilyn Monroe, it was Audrey, and she may be back. She may be back. I don't know. What else do we have? Who other questions have I missed? I haven't ever been drunk on one of these live streams. Would you, if Stig can't be here, would you settle for a drunk Charlie? I don't think I've got the guts to do it, because alcohol to me is like a truth drug. You could ask me anything you wanted and I would just answer, because it's weird. Alcohol just turns me into a really nice guy. I mean, I'm a dick most of the rest of the time, but apparently when I'm drunk, I'm really nice. So I'm told. Do we have any more buying questions? I want to tell you about negotiate. Actually, I've covered that already. Do I expect something? Okay. Matthias Souza says, do you expect the house price slide to be linear, or do you think prices will drop mostly at the beginning or the end? Neither of those. Well, no, I don't think it'll be linear. I think it'll be most in the middle. I actually think we've begun the phase, the second of three phases, the middle. But the beginning was the last 12 months. The middle, we're just entering now, the next 12 months. And the end will be the 12 months after that, roughly speaking, with regional variations on timing as well. I am, yeah, you guys will see. When if anyone's watching this video 6 months from now, what are we? So February, March 2024, put a comment below and see if I was right. Because I think that the land registry reports coming out in February, March 2024 will be reporting completion figures for transactions being agreed now in August 2023. And I think the falls are going to be quite big. And if I'm wrong, tell me as well. Say, wait, Charlie, it's 2024. We've just had the data out and you're wrong. Let me know. I'm not here to be right or wrong. I'm here to make sure that you've thought it through. Do not take my word for anything. Hear what I have to say, absorb it, consider it alongside any other information that you have. I'm here to help anyone who wants to move house, whether you're a first-time buyer, whether you're a second-time buyer and a seller, whether you're just selling, whether you're renting, whatever it might be. I'm here for anyone who needs to move house, because I want to help people move on with their life. And the more liquidity there is in the housing market, the less homelessness there will be. That's a discussion for another day. What other questions do we have, guys? Okay, so Leo Lee says, I'm late to the party and tipsy for a change. Where's Stig? Lol. Stig is at a party and he's tipsy as well. So I did invite him to join tonight and he said, fuck off, I've got a better offer. Because that's what he's like. He didn't actually say that, but it makes a good story. Where are we? Oh, thank you, Visual Ghoul. Joanna Zien says, are you not too posh to get drunk on a live stream? I didn't know posh people weren't allowed to get drunk on live streams. Is that a thing? I didn't know that. It's not happening tonight. No. Ian Downing says, question, would a mortgage in principle rate still be the same rate 5 months after receiving it? No, I don't think you need to ask your broker for the specific offer in principle that you have, and they will tell you whether or not the rate is fixed, and if so, for how long. But I have heard of people who have a mortgage in principle. They've had a quote in principle as well, but when they come to having an offer accepted and get an actual mortgage offer, it has changed. That's a great question. Tina B says, are mortgage valuations, brackets, being lower a lot of the time, based on some kind of secret knowledge, or are they just overcautious with their risk appetite? They are mostly based on algorithms. They are a lot of the time based on, I mean, sometimes they're done without even attending the property. The approach that they take is that it is cheaper to approximate them and get it wrong sometimes than to spend out the money on getting them more accurate individually to try and get it right. So they just look at the big picture, right? It's just one big thing. But they are, generally speaking, a lot of down valuations I'm hearing about at the moment. Capri says, I wish the land registry reported more frequently. Well, they do. They report every single month. Trouble is, they're reporting for 2 or 3 months ago, and it's only a very small sample, so it's very, very behind the times. Nikki Knight says, Charlie, do you agree that buying now, the guaranteed crash price loss will be lost value forever and still has to be paid for, as prices only recover numerically with inflation? If I understand you correctly, then yes, I do agree. So let me see if I've understood Nikki's question correctly. If you buy now and then the value falls because house prices slide, is the lost value lost forever because prices only recover numerically or nominally, and when you take inflation into account, they sometimes don't ever recover? I do agree with that, yes. Cookie Monster says, hi Charlie, love the channel. I love you too, Cookie Monster. Nom nom. What year is this? This is 2023. Greg Archer, this is a great question. When making best and final offers to an agent, how do you know you're not just bidding against yourself? Well, it's very, very hard to know for absolutely certain, but ultimately it shouldn't change your bid, because if you are bidding to secure yourself a home, it's always worth making your maximum comfortable offer straight out of the gates to improve your chances of securing that home if it's a home you want to live in. Could you have got it a few thousand quid cheaper? Possibly, but if you did make your bid a few thousand quid cheaper, you might have lost it to someone else. It's a false economy. If you're buying a home to live in and not as an investment, it's a false economy to underbid. Always offer your maximum comfortable price. But having said that, don't overpay. John K says, as a cash buyer, is it a mistake for me to have my funds in 90-day notice savings accounts? Oh, could I potentially miss out as a seller if the seller wants to move faster? I mean, yeah, actually, if you're a cash buyer, you could definitely be getting yourself an offer accepted based on how fast. I mean, for example, a lot of cash buyers will say, I've got my conveyancer lined up, I've got my search pack ready to buy, we can exchange within 4 weeks, right? So 30 days. Gonna wait 90 days? Yeah, I think it might be false economy. That's my view. Oh, Kyle Cundall says, I helped you. Thank you very much. Guys, I can't tell you how much I love getting the messages from you saying that I've helped you with your house to housing transaction. Every single one of them is valuable, even if I don't get to publish them. Thank you so much. Question. Son of Odin says, what do you think about agents who are posting houses they sold before 6 months ago? Why are they doing this? One of two reasons. Either they sold it and the sale has fallen through, so they're putting it back on the market, or it's a phantom property that they put up periodically just to get buyer registrations. Okay. DeLuaro says, how much do you think we're already down from the peak? It depends where you are. Nationally speaking, on average, I think we're about 10 to 12% down from the peak by the time the time lag reporting catches up. But that will vary enormously. Annie Anonymous. Hi, Annie. Why are house asking prices holding out in some areas? Okay. I've got so much to say about this question. Why are house asking prices holding out in some areas and not in others at the moment? The map you showed with Stig the other day on a live says I was in a yellow zone where prices weren't falling at the moment. Okay, remember, even in a zone, the figures they're giving for that area are the average of the flats and the houses, and the flats and houses will be doing different things. And even with just the flats in that zone, there are going to be hot spots and not so hot spots. And it might be that you're in an area where there are a lot of people moving to that area because it's cheaper. That's helping keep lower prices up. There are so many reasons that it might be happening. But asking prices, they're just... Treat asking prices like newspaper headlines. They may or may not be right. It doesn't matter. read the article, go and look at the property, right? Just asking prices are nothing more than a conversation starter. If you're a seller, your asking price is critical to how quickly you will sell your house for how much. But if you're a buyer, asking prices are just, look, if you want a 3-bedroom semi with a garden, and there's a 3-bedroom semi with a garden where you want to live, go and view it. Go and view it. Reynolds Crummins, hi, that's a new name I don't recognize. Welcome on YouTube. Reynolds says, what are the key things to look out for when buying a new build house? Brackets freehold. Well, freehold is a lot less to look out for than leasehold. Leasehold on new builds, very, very need very, very careful checking out by your conveyancer on the lease terms. But on freeholds, what you got to look out for is not overpaying. So we have Persimmons results coming out, and a couple of other houses. Bellway Homes is actually, they're laying 90 people off. They're all succeeding in keeping their prices up, but all of their profits are down. Profit per unit are down. What that tells you is they are spending a lot more on incentives to try to keep their prices up. Why? Because their balance sheet, their whole financial account and their viability depends on what they can show they're selling the house prices for. So the asset value of the land, the future value is based on the achieved prices. So they will take a smaller profit margin by giving you cash back in some instances, a more expensive kitchen, and upgraded this and upgraded that in the house. But just remember, quality, valuable upgrades to the property are worthwhile. Cash back is not worthwhile because effectively you've borrowed that cash with your mortgage and you're paying interest on it. So if they're offering you cash back, say no thank you, take it off the price. All right. As tempting as it can be to have some cash, it's cash you are borrowing and you're paying for it. This is a good question. Joe G on YouTube says, why haven't journalists noticed the market is falling? Does your 40% predicted fall account for inflation? So there's two questions. Why haven't journalists? So most journalists working in major publications are required to only publish stuff that they can refer to data to back it up, right? So in other words, they are publishing stories based on out-of-date data. The journalists don't have data of what's happening today because it doesn't get reported for 2 or 3 months by mortgage companies and 6 to 9 months by land registry. Okay, there's a 6 to 9 month delay in land registry figures between when they announce it and when those prices were actually agreed. I haven't predicted 40% falls. I'm expecting, not predicting, there is a really important difference, okay? I'm expecting 35% national average falls. And no, they're not real falls, they're nominal falls. If you take account of inflation, then the fall will be larger. Any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up soon, guys. Max Plays asks, do you expect prices to fall less or slower in cheaper areas like Scotland and Northern Ireland? Yes, Max, correct. I do expect prices not to fall as far in those lower cost areas. Paul Hatton says, are there any specific approaches you would adopt if a property was already vacant? We plan to view a vacant property and wonder whether it's a repo or the seller's being in a bad spot. I would guess, my first guess is that a vacant property will be a landlord selling it up. If not, yes, it could be repossession, but it's more likely to be a landlord who's got the tenant out first. Vacant properties, they tend to not have an onward chain, which is good. It might be that maybe the person who owned it has died and it's a probate sale. Could be several reasons for it being vacant. But if it's vacant and empty and there's no furniture in it, it typically means that it's a landlord selling a formerly tenanted property. No, there's no specific approach. Again, it comes down to how much you want the property, what's it worth to you, formulate your offer on that basis. And guys, for all of you who are new viewers here, when you're finding a home and offering and having offers accepted. Quick recap. Never offer the day that you view. Never offer the day that you view. View the property, no matter how much, and don't give away how much you like it to the agent, right? Poker face, just view it. Okay. They're very, very good at spotting the signs, though. But if you do like it, say to the agent, yeah, it's a contender. We're going to go home and think about it. We'll let you know tomorrow by email. Don't ring them. They might ring you. And if they do ring you, take the call, see if they tell you anything, because agents will sometimes give away the situation and say, actually, the seller's really keen to sell. They are being flexible on price, so we'd be very keen to hear any offer. That's a good signal. But never respond on the phone with your offer. Put your offer in writing so that they can't. They're trained to do this, guys. They can't manipulate you up. Put in your maximum comfortable offer, put it in an email and say, that's the maximum price we're prepared to pay for this property, and be prepared to walk away if not accepted. Jay Singh says, when do you estimate the actual bottom will be? Jay, first of all, it will vary depending on where you are in the country. It will vary depending on whether it's houses or flats. But overall, on average, I'm expecting the bottom to happen sometime in mid to late 2025, but it won't get reported until 2026, by which time it's too late and you'll have missed it. So don't try and time the bottom. If you are looking to buy a property to live in, get out there, be viewing, keep on going, invest the time, you'll find the place you want. Nick Jones, good question. Are down valuations from surveyors the worst enemy of liquidity in the market? They certainly don't help. They certainly don't help. And it's always bad for an estate agent to overvalue and then get a price accepted for property if the mortgage lender is going to downvalue it anyway. Tall T981 says, prices in my part of Dorset are definitely coming down a lot. Q1, nothing in my criteria below 310. This week, 20 below 290. Cool, very interesting. Mr. M asks, do mortgage brokers always do what's best for clients and find them the best deal, or do they find clients mortgages which give brokers the best returns? If the broker that you're dealing with is making you wonder about that question, you might not be with a broker that you can trust. As with any professional in any industry where you are relying on them to be trustworthy to an extent, there are people out there who, maybe not because they're dishonest, but because they're desperate themselves. They've got to hit targets. They've got to pay their own bills. They've got to feed their own families. Maybe that there are people out there who will sell you products that make them more money. I know those people exist. And in fact, the brokers I deal with know that there are other brokers that do that. That's why I deal with the brokers I deal with. So, as with any group of people, there is a spectrum of the best to the worst, the very honest to the very dishonest. There's no good ones and bad ones. It's just a spectrum, okay? It's a sliding scale of good to bad, which is why I've got the guys that I've picked. And guys, if any of you are watching this and don't have a mortgage broker that you trust, these guys, go to that URL on the screen there, mhwc.co.uk/mortgage, pop your details in, and one of my two very trusted mortgage brokers will be in touch with you and have a free no obligation conversation to start with. Chat. Should we trust and largely go with Rick's surveyor valuation of a property when making an offer? Azim Imtiaz asks that question on YouTube. It should inform your offer, but your offer should be your maximum comfortable offer for that property given your circumstances, right? So if you're a cash buyer with money coming out of your ears and you just need to secure a property and you haven't got time to waste going back to square one, finding another one, you might decide to pay more than that because you can afford it. Whereas if you're someone who's very tightly stretched out, don't offer more than you're comfortable, whatever the valuation says. The Jelly Baby XXX on YouTube says, agents are dropping asking prices 9 to 10% here. Kent commuter town. A month later, they still haven't sold. I think many agents are still overvaluing, perhaps to get them on their books. Yes, agents are overvaluing, but I can tell you something that's happening. A lot of agents, those of you who've been watching my channel since last year will know that I got a lot of stick from a lot of estate agents saying, rubbish, Charlie, the market's not going to come down. Stop talking it down. Prices are going up where we are. It's really strong. The market's really buoyant. Blah, 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 blah. Keeping on talking the market up. Even some of the more realistic agents that I spoke to who said, no, I can see the market softening, have been caught out and gone, I didn't think it was going to come down this fast. So there are some honest agents who've been giving valuations that they believed in that have actually been caught out by how fast the market's dropped. Because remember, a lot of agents haven't seen a market like this before. Unless your estate agent's been doing this for more than 15 years, they haven't seen a market like this before. So a lot of good, honest agents are simply being caught out, right? Some of your questions here are questions I can't answer. You need to put to mortgage brokers. Sam Charnock, I hope I just answered your question. Why are estate agents still overpricing properties in an obviously falling market? Okay, two reasons. First of all, caveat, not all of them are. The really, really good agents will not overvalue properties. I heard a story just today about an agent that valued at 650, an agent that valued the same property at 750, and another agent that valued at 950. And the only offer that came in for that property was an offer of 640, 10k below the lowest valuation. So not all agents overvalue, most do. Two reasons. Some of them are paid a commission to get the seller's property in the market no matter what price is. So they don't care whether it's going to get sold. They just want to get the listing because they get paid a commission for listing it. So never trust the valuation of someone whose job is just to list your property. Ask them and say, are you just a lister? There are other agents who are doing it out of pure being mistaken. All right. Aaron Hughes says, Charlie, what do you see happening to holiday homes typically used for Airbnb? I see those coming into the market. Great to be back, Annie. Thank you. Oh, Jay. Oh, that's a tricky one. Cash buyer gazumped me recently on a house I love. Now the seller wants 25k more. But this is 25k above the RICS valuation. What should I do? Or do you think the cash buyer is bluffing? If you stick to my rules, which is offer your maximum comfortable price or walk away, then you should walk away. If you can comfortably pay 25k more for the property and you want to, and it suits you, and you're not putting yourself at risk, and you're happy to overpay slightly because it doesn't put you at risk, you might still want to do that. Matt S, that's a great question. I don't have the answer to it though. Matt S says, when do you see critical mass in terms of mortgage renewals to trigger the price reductions you're expecting? I actually think that's big. It won't happen. So critical mass, I don't think there's going to be an overnight change, right? It's going to be like a building wave. I think it's already begun. What happened to Audrey Hepburn? Someone asks. She's in storage. Okay, she's in storage. Because I have moved out of my old home of 12 years and I have not yet found my new home, hence my unusual surroundings. But I'm not going into details on this. I might do an update on that on my personal vlog. All right, I have a personal YouTube channel. It's just Charlie Lambden, which is my personal video diary. I sometimes put stuff there, but I don't do it here. Thank you, AW07. Much appreciated. Looking for some more questions. Oh, Son of Odin asks, how can a tenant fight against a Section 21? The answer to that is that when the landlord files their Section 21, they need to follow a very precise legal process and procedure, and the paperwork needs to be perfect. And if anything's out and the date is wrong or something's spelt wrong, that can be enough to have it thrown out. But if they do it correctly, to my knowledge, there's nothing you can do. Mohammed A says, are you seeing an increase in buy-to-let landlords selling? Anecdotally, yes, I am. But I don't, there's no compelling hard evidence that that's happening nationally. But buy-to-let landlords with a mortgage rate that wasn't fixed and they're now seeing the rates go up, they're being hit. Not just by that, but by other things as well. ACH asks, when do you think the high house prices will start biting into sales of estate agents? After all, no transactions means no business. That's already happened. It happened at the end of last year. So the second half of 2022 saw a big drop in transactions. The first half of this year, transactions are 30% down on the first half of last year, and their pipelines now being hit with deal fall throughs all the time. So estate agents, businesses are being, some are okay. The really quality professional agents who know what they're doing, who saw this coming, they're okay. A lot of the others are facing real problems. If they've got strong lettings businesses, they'll be okay. If they haven't, they'll be in real trouble, which is not a good thing. I mean, I'm also here to end bad estate agency. So if this market puts bad estate agents, by which I mean people who knowingly behave badly in the course of running their agency, good luck to them elsewhere. But they won't be missed in this industry. God, guys, I'm so far behind with your questions. I know all the data says that rents are going up and rents are going up and rents are going up. Even the RICS survey said that more than ever expecting rents to increase. I still have a gut feel that they're actually going to be coming down. I don't have compelling data to support it, but I just feel that's, I don't know. We'll see. I could be wrong on that. Someone B asks, is it still industry practice to have an offer on the house you're selling, I assume you mean, before you can view or make an offer on the next house? Or can you get an offer, then sell yours? In this market, not many sellers or estate agents will be accepting offers from people who have not yet sold their own property. If they don't have any other offers at all, then they might. But in this market, it's harder for that to happen. Right now, if you can manage the logistical difficulties, as some of my friends have done, and I know that they're doing now, I would sell, find somewhere temporary to live, and then be an unencumbered buyer. Oh my God, we've gone over an hour. Quick scan for a couple more questions, then I'm going to wrap it up. Oh, Janice Taylor, that's a cracking question, Janice. Should those looking for the bottom have a minimum percentage deposit, e.g. 30%? So that's a very good question. I think what you mean is, if people are buying knowing that prices are going to fall in the next couple of years, should you be looking to have a minimum deposit? Yes. And your minimum deposit should be the worst case scenario you're expecting for that kind of property in that area. And that's something you've got to figure out for yourself. But what I always say is prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So in that scenario, if you're buying a flat for, say, £200,000 and you think actually the flat market is quite good there because maybe there's a university and there's a really big employer that's really strong and has got a good, if the economy is strong, you might decide, well, maybe worst case scenario here is 10% off, another 10% in the next couple of years. Then I'd still want to get a 15 or 20% deposit. If you think it's going to be a potential area for 30% falls after you've bought, you want a 40% deposit, if that makes sense. Wow. Rebecca Nicola says, I work in a coastal Cornish town. Houses used as holiday cottages are approximately 40% empty during August. Literally unheard of for the time of year. That is such a strong recession indicator. Such a strong one. And that's why I think a lot of people are going to be selling up their Airbnbs and their second homes. Okay, guys, I'm getting so many of you asking for my personal situation. My rule is that I only broadcast stuff on this channel that is of value to people moving house. I will do a video on my personal channel explaining my personal move situation in full. It won't be for another week or two. My situation is very much unresolved at the moment anyway, but I will do that on that channel. If you're really interested, you can go watch my personal channel. But I'm not going to spend time much on that here. All right, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Reynolds. Oh, Sib Jenke says rents are going down in my locale. Where is that, Sib? That's cool. That's interesting to hear. Joe G says, when are you going to appear on the Martin Lewis Money Show? When he invites me. Be very, very happy to be invited. Tina Fey asks a question. Pulled out of a purchase in May, 80% loan to value, cited job insecurity. The house is still on the market and has been since April. Shall I try to renegotiate now or wait till prices actually fall further? There's no point in waiting. Just put your lower offer in. You've got nothing to lose. Put your lower offer in. Surajit Nag asks me, when do you expect interest rates for mortgages to come down significantly and how long do you expect them to settle? I don't think they're going to come down significantly. I don't think they're going to settle for a couple of years. I think the future of the economy is so uncertain. I don't have any strong opinions other than they're not going back down to 2%. Not in the foreseeable future. John K asks, is there any technical difference between a property being sold subject to contract and under offer? Technically, no. Some people think it's different. Some agents will put it under offer if there are offers there, but the seller hasn't actually decided to accept any. There are offers, but they haven't been accepted. Occasionally, they'll do that to try and conjure up more buyers to go, oh, well, we want it too. Sometimes they will just put it as under offer when an offer has been accepted, but it's not yet exchanged. So it's just a terminology thing. Different areas prefer different terminology, but roughly speaking, means the same thing. Yes. Ian Downing asks, when will your best agent house price index be finalized? Finalized? Well, when best agent's house price index, or the all homes index, as I call it, finalized, we will have real-time frontline data on offers as they're happening. The percentage difference between offers and asking prices, etc. Not for the entire country, but for probably a large enough sample size that it'll be a useful, worthwhile indicator. That's some way off, but between now and then, I'm hoping to bring out a lot more useful things. So right now, we're close, I hope, to finalizing asking price, an asking price index that really shows average, median, sold, unsold, etc. But it's going to be something that keeps evolving for quite some time yet. And by the way, we will be offering it more locally for people who want it as well when we've got it ready. Tractor Shed says 1% base rate and new currency within 2 years. Wow, that's a punchy expectation. I don't think so. I can't make any promises about what's going to happen with Stig Slisov. I'm sorry if I got that pronunciation wrong, which I'm sure I have. Because, as you all know, lovely Stig, Alexander Groundwater, is a law unto himself. He does what he pleases, when he pleases. So I hope very much to have him back on the channel soon. I'm sure he will be, but I can't promise anything. Just have to keep you on your toes. Guys, I am going to call it a night because I've been rabbiting away nonstop for an hour and 10 minutes. I've got a sore throat. I'd like to finish my beer before it gets too warm. But I'll be back soon. Have a great week. I'll do another one soon just for sellers, because sellers are having a rough time of things right now. And I want to help those sellers that just need a wake-up call. Yeah, Tractor Shed says, I have that screenshot. See you in 24 months. Cool. Look forward to that. But guys, I'm going to stop looking at that now. And I'm going to come back here and say to you, if you are looking for a mortgage broker, mhwc.co. You know it's time for me to stop, but I can't speak anymore. mhwc.co.uk/mortgage. If you'd like an independent whole of market broker to talk to, see if you trust. They're my guys. They're handpicked. I love them to bits. They're great. Conveyancing. Having a conveyancer lined up, whether you are a buyer or a seller, makes all the sense in the world. I can't understand why anyone wouldn't do that. All you're doing is delaying the transaction, and by delaying the transaction, you're increasing the chances of it failing. There is a linear relationship between how long a transaction takes and the chances of it falling through. Okay? Have your conveyancer lined up in advance. Don't go for the ones that agents recommend you if they're big panel ones. If you've got an agent that you trust and they say, this is the conveyancer I use because I think they're the best, and you trust the agent, then go with that guy. Find a conveyancer you trust. If you can't find one, please go to that page and try mine. And finally, if you're making an offer or if you're a seller, you want to speed up your transaction, mhwc.co.uk/property-pack. And one last final shout out to those of you who are listening on the podcast. So after these live streams, I always upload the audio to the audio podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Moving Home with Charlie. So you can listen to this on audio podcast. I also put a link in the description after the live stream. I put a link to the audio podcast so you can listen to it there if you haven't got time to watch me waffling on the screen. Guys, have a fantastic Sunday night. Sleep well. Have a great week. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you all very much. Speak soon. Bye-bye.